Alright, today's project is we're doing the entire cooling system on my 96 Astro van. Now a lot of people have some difficulty getting the clutch fan off. Now there's basically a nut that's part of the fan on the backside, so you got to get a big crescent wrench on the backside, and then you got to hit it with a hammer. Now obviously when you're doing something like that, you want to remember that you don't want to hit anything that you have no intentions of breaking, because there's fans plastic, you have some other plastic parts in here, and even the non-plastic parts in here, you really don't want to smack with a hammer unless you plan on replacing it anyway. Now the problem with that is the pulley will tend to spin. You definitely want to keep the belt on to help grip that pulley, and that's going to help when you smack with the hammer. It'll actually loosen the fan rather than just spin everything. Now it doesn't always work. And also in a case of like mine, where the last owner had the belt done and they did it wrong, which explains why my tensioner is broken, it's a little bit different, but I've got a trick for you. Now the bolts to hold the pulley on are a 10mm bolt, so as you can see I've got a wrench here, and I've got it canted over to the point where when it starts to spin, it's going to hit my tensioner. My tensioner's already broke, so I don't really care. Now, if you spin it softly until it's touching and you smack it with the hammer, it hopefully shouldn't break it, but I'm already planning on replacing it anyway, so I really don't care if I break it. But what this is going to do is once it's only going to spin a little bit until it hits the tensioner, and then it's going to stop, hopefully, the whole pulley from spinning. We'll try and make sure, but that should hopefully stop the pulley from spinning. And then as you can see right here, I can point to it, is the nut there in the middle. I'll get my wrench on there and smack it with a hammer. Hopefully it cracks it loose, and then we'll be able to pull the fan off and get access to the pulley and the water pump. So as you can see, I got my wrench on here, and I've got it turned to where that wrench is on there. And if I'm looking at this correctly, even if that wrench tries to spin, it's going to tighten that nut, so it's only going to spin so much, and it should hopefully stop this. So now that I got it on here, let's see if I can get the camera to sit somewhere where we can see. There it is. See, it's as easy as that, folks. Work smarter, not harder, and these jobs become less of a big project, and you get them done faster. And when you do them yourself, especially on these vans, you save a lot of money, because there is so much that has to get taken off just to access stuff that shops are just going to upcharge you right off the bat because it's one of these vans. So do it yourself, you know, save the money, gain the experience, have some fun, you know, have a couple beers with a couple friends, and get it done yourself and save yourself a lot of money and a lot of hassle. And another good thing is the reason I'm doing the entire cooling system is I already know the radiator was the issue. But like I said, you have to take everything apart anyway, so it's a good idea to replace more than what you're just doing. You know, take a look, like the belt is not looking too great, so I'm going to replace that. These hoses are probably okay, but you know what, I'm going to just go with brand new ones. They're not that expensive. Why? Because I don't want to put this all together and run it for a week and then have a hose go bad or a belt go bad, and then I'm in the same situation and I got to take my hand all the way apart again. I got a long weekend I have today set aside for this, so we're going to go through here, and also once we have everything out, I'm going to take a look and see if there's anything else that I need. I think I already know everything I need, but just because it's so much stuff you have to get out anyway, might as well take a look, replace some extra stuff, spend a little bit of money now so you're not spending a lot more money later. Now that I got the fan off, again, I just want to show you, now it's a lot easier. You can see the threads here, that's where the fan actually screws on, and as you can see, I've got the wrench there on the tensioner, and I tell you, it worked absolutely perfect. I don't think it would do any damage to this tensioner. It didn't appear to. Mine was already looked broken, so that would be the way I would do it. It makes it so much easier. You don't need no special tools. You don't need to make a run to AutoZone, O'Reilly, any kind of auto parts store to rent some tools. Just do this. If you don't have a 10mm wrench, you're going to struggle on this job anyway. I mean, you need it for these here. Well, I guess you could use a socket, but I mean, still, it's basic hand tools that you have. And it makes the job that much easier. So Work smarter, not harder. Another tip for you guys, seems kind of trivial and kind of obvious, at least to me, but obviously it's not to everybody. And it's an easy mistake to make. But in a situation like this, when you're putting the new hose clamp on, now these are, I believe, are not factory, but it's alright. Pay attention to when you put it on. Just take the extra 5 seconds, because it would have been a lot better to put this in a different location so you can actually access it easily. Obviously, they struggled to even get that on, and I'm probably going to have a real fun time getting it off too. I mean, I can get in there with a ratchet, but it definitely could have been in an easier position. And it's one of those things where if you take 5 seconds, putting an extra 5-10 seconds putting it together, you'll save yourself a little bit of headache and a little bit of frustration and a little bit of time the next time you have to touch this part. Alright, well, Chevy did a really cool thing. It's out now, but this stud for the thermostat housing, you can't get, you need a deep socket, but you can't get a deep socket because of your bracket. So I used a wrench, and this is what I was talking about being careful, taking extra time, because I actually just broke my temp sensor. So just take your little time. It's hidden in there. I didn't even see it until it was too late. So when you're doing the thermostat, just remember your temp sensor's right there, and you must gotta use a wrench, but unplug your temp sensor first, and then be really careful about where you're going with your wrench, because it's right where this little part of the hose is right here, where it goes from a soft line to a hard line. That's right where your temp sensor is, just behind this. So just make sure you're looking out, because I just broke mine, and I mean, it's what it is. I was gonna replace it anyway, but all right, here we are. On the truck, running to the parts store again. Second time today. I think this is the 4th time in total to get everything, but it's alright. I broke the temp sensor, which I think I mentioned already, but going to pick up another one. Hopefully this is the last trip, and we'll start making some progress. I got pretty much everything out except for the water pump, and making some pretty good progress this morning. So actually pretty excited. It's going quicker than I thought it was going to. I've only been on it at it for about 2 hours so far, and I'm also taking breaks to film and kind of explain stuff for you guys. So not so bad of a project. Still probably got a couple more hours, maybe more to do, but it definitely looks like it's going to get done today, which is really cool, and means I hopefully not overheat anymore. So I did find for sure the radiator. I mean, it's got a big rusty hole in it and stuff, so that's for sure the issue. But just want to get the entire cooling system done so that it is not an issue, and I do not have to worry about it in the near future at all. I like that idea. So, all right, so we're making a little progress, steady by steady. But here's one thing I wanted to show you. You can definitely see there's this is a common thing. You're gonna see this when you pull a hose off. It's been there for a while. It's in the coolant system. You're gonna see this like dried up coolant and deposits and corrosion on where your hose goes on. And that's common. It's not a big deal, but it does leave these like this corrosion, this deposits on here that make this bell not quite as sharp of a curve, I guess, or it smooths this out, and also it leaves it like a rough texture all the way around, which is going to make it harder for your new hose, or even the old hose, to go back on and seal really good. Now, obviously it'll do it, but it's a good idea to clean this up. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Unfortunately, this is the only kind of wire brush I found, but just take a wire brush, and I'll just show you just a quick part here. It doesn't take much time, doesn't take much effort, but you can see there's a difference now between where that is and that is. So you want to make sure you clean these up before you put your new hose on. So this is where we're at right now. I got the new tensioner in, got the new thermostat in with the thermostat housing cleaned up, the lower water pump housing. Actually, I guess that was stupid to clean up since I'm replacing that. Got the new temp sensor that's going in right now, and then next I will tackle getting this pulley off and replacing the water pump and then finally we will do the radiator, and then we can put the fan and all the shroud and everything back in. So we're getting there. It's taking me a little bit longer because I had to make a couple runs to the parts house, and then obviously I'm filming too, so I'm trying to point out some things to you guys. So so far I got about 3 hours into this project so far, but again, that's like 3 or 4 trips to the parts store. I'm filming and I'm taking breaks. I let the van cool down for like 30 minutes, so it's not a big project. It's not that big of a deal so far. It's going pretty smooth, so we'll check in here when I go ahead to do the removal of the water pump. I'm going to go ahead and tighten some things up now, and then I'll film again when I do that. Alright guys, I'm going to show you how to get this pulley off without an impact. If you have an impact, it's super easy, right? But not everybody has one. So I went ahead and put the belt back on. It's going to grip that pulley a little bit, but it's not going to be perfect. It's just going to help. So we're going to use our wrench trick again, 10mm wrench on a bolt and on the tensioner here. And then we're going to go to these 3 bolts here, and we're going to crack them loose. Okay. So now these are nice and loose. See, I can do them by hand now. It's kind of tough, but I mean, obviously they're loose and it'll work. Now you're probably thinking, well, okay, that's great, but you still got one tight, right? Well, here's the thing. Pull your wrench off. And I know this seems silly, but you'll spin it, and it's kind of hard to do with one hand. But use one of these that you've loosened up, put it here, spin the pulley, and then use it. And yes, it will tighten this a tiny bit, but hopefully when you pop that one loose, whatever one you decide to do, it's going to tighten it a little bit, but you should hopefully be able to get it off with just a wrench now that you have like your belt on. So there we go, I got this propped up. We got these 3 loose, as you can see. They're backed out a little bit, hopefully, these 3. Now if I grab this by hand here, and I go ahead and I put my 10mm back on, and I get my wrench down here, and there it is. It didn't take a whole lot, and it's just between the belt and this little bit of force here, that's all it really takes. You might need to play around a couple times where, oop, you know what, that might have been the wrong one. Nope, that's the right one. You might need to play around a couple times to where you just kind of keep moving around. And it'll seem like you're doing this backwards, or you're just really kind of running in circles, but trust me, it will work. So now we got these loose. We're going to go ahead and loosen these up a little bit. Now would be the time to take the belt back off. So what you do is you just take your 3/8 ratchet. I'm just using this one just because that way I don't have to keep taking them off my thing, but it fits directly in this little square slot for your tensioner, and you want to be tightening basically, but you pull this up and then you can slip it off your belts here. Now there's a ton of tension in the spring, so don't just let this go. Ease it back out until it bottoms out and stops, otherwise you're going to break your tension. Alright, so remember that, don't let that go. Just ease it back to its fully out resting place, and you're good. Now you get the belt off. And now you can take your bolts out for your water pump pulley. Don't throw the bolt like I just did. Now I can go pick that up. That was silly. Now you get it off, and I believe there's only 4 bolts total for this particular water pump. There's, I believe, 2 right here. Yeah, so there's those 2 there. And maybe that one there. Sure where the other one is. Oh, it is up here. It's just dark. You can't see it. So there's 2 right next to each other here. Boom, boom. 2 right next to each other there. Boom, boom. That's it. It's 4 bolts, and it'll just pop right out. All right. So these are These 4 bolts are 14 millimeter. I recommend using a really long extension so you can get to it quite easily, and the further your knuckles are from hard objects, the less you have a chance to cut your knuckles open. So I recommend you got plenty of room right here now, might as well use an extension to get your ratchet right out here in the open, so hopefully you don't bust your knuckles open. Alright, another thing to remember is you want to make sure you keep track of what bolt goes to what, alright, because sometimes you will have shallower and longer bolts on different parts for different reasons, and if you put a long bolt in the longer bolt where the shorter bolt should go, you can do a lot of things. You can crack the block, you can break the pump, you can do a lot of really bad things, so you want to keep track of that. So what I will do is I actually got the first one out now, and I got this other top one loose, but I took the bottom one out first. So like we said, we have 2 here and 2 here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go to the new box for the water pump. Here's the bolt, and like I said, we have 2 on this side and we have 2 on this side, right? So I'm gonna use this Duralast as this is my top, you know. So if you can read it, top is top, left is right, right, all that, you know. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna poke 4 holes in it. All right. This was the bottom one on the right-hand side. And as you take them out, put them in the correlating holes. That way, when you're ready to go, you can flip this. You know, you can flip the blade up, whatever. It's not gonna be in the way. And then when you're ready to tighten the new pump down, you just pull them out of the respective holes and put them into the water pump. And that way, you do not confuse your bolts, and you don't do anything silly like cause yourself a whole lot of grief, or break parts, or crack the block, or do anything really bad that's going to turn this job from a day project into a whole hell of a mess. So I don't care if you take pictures, if you take video, if you mark them with tape. This is the way I do it. It's very, very simple. If you have a piece of cardboard laying around, just poke a couple holes, plan them out, and you will not run into that issue. It is a very simple, fail-proof way to do it. I don't care how you do it. Take pictures. Just make sure you keep track of what bolt is where, so that the correct bolt goes back in the correct hole. Okay. I did want to show you this as well. I've only got 1 bolt left in. You can see mine is already loose. I have seen these to where they just kind of stick to the motor. And sometimes you got to yank on them, kind of hard to get them out. But once you get the 4 bolts in, that's it. That's all that retains it in there. So if it's stuck and it feels pretty solid, don't freak out. You're not going to break anything. Just give it a nice good tug and separate it from the block. Now when you do that, I recommend putting a bolt in, at least 1, but maybe 1 on each side, and not all the way in. Just give it 2 or 3 threads. That way when you yank on this thing and it pops free, you're not going to pinch a finger against your radiator or anything like that. Those bolts are going to stop from putting all the way out. Now you know you got it free. You take those 2 bolts back out, and your pop's just going to, you know, come right off. Another trick. I didn't take this hose off. I forgot. So because this pulley was on my way to block it from my view. But there is a such thing as a hose puller. It's basically like this curved pick that you can get up there, and it'll help break the seal, and you can jam it around. If you have one of those, that's great. It's a good idea to use that first to help loosen the seal on the hose. Most of us don't have that though, alright? So I'm going to show you another trick. Just take some pliers and squeeze your hose just enough to grip it and twist. And when you twist it, it's going to break that seal on that hose as well, and then you can get the hose off. Really simple thing, but I mean, I've seen guys fight, and I've been there before I learned this trick, and it's quite simple. You just take some pliers or some channel locks, anything that'll grab that, and this should go without saying, but you want to make sure you take a wire brush to both areas here. You got one here and one here where your bolts are. That's where your pump connects, and you want to make sure that you clean this up really well with a wire brush, razor blade. I wouldn't really recommend sandpaper, but you definitely want to get this clean so that your gasket seals up nice, alright? See, I got a little bit more I missed there that I got to get, but check it with like your finger, whatever. You want to make sure that it's nice and just, it's all metal, and it's nice and smooth, alright? So make sure you clean that up with a wire brush. Otherwise, you're going to do all this work, and you're going to put your water pump in, you're going to start it up, and you're going to notice you have a leak coming from one side or the other, and then you're going to have to dig all into it again, and you're going to have to take your water pump back off, you're going to have to clean these up, and then you're going to have to reseal them, and you're probably going to have to get new gaskets. So take the extra time, clean this, and do the job right. Alright, new pump going in. Now, I just want to remind you folks, don't just go tighten one bolt down and crank it down and then move on to the next one, alright? Do a process, tighten the opposite bolts, and step them in little by little, and step them in evenly, alright? Last thing you want to do is get this far in and warp or crack your brand new part, and then you got to go to the parts house and go get another one, or you find out the hard way after you get it all done and it's leaking, and then you got to go dig and investigate, and you pull the pump off and figure out you fucked it up because you cranked it down. Alright, so just walk them down, do opposite corners until the part gets snug, and then don't tighten anything down, just do this until the part's snug. Then you want to torque them down the same way. Just keep walking in circles, going to the opposite bolt, and snug them up, tighten them up, alright? Don't just tighten the first bolt you get to and then move on to the next one. That's not the way to do it. Remember, it's all about taking a little bit of time now so that you don't have to spend more time later. Alright, so I got everything back together. I apologize, I'm working outside and I got this cooler, but it's hot, so I kind of skipped some steps here, but try to show you guys tips and tricks, hopefully. So we got a brand new radiator, brand new water pump, brand new thermostat, brand new radiator hoses, and also heater hoses, brand new belt, brand new tensioner. So should hopefully be good. Here you can see all the rust here. That was where the leak was, somewhere about there. And actually, I think it's this side. Yeah, you can. It's all plugged up too, so that was nasty. Make sure when you do this kind of stuff that you let the van or the car, the truck, get up to operating temp, open up a thermostat. That way you get all the air out of the system. Otherwise, you're going to think it's good and you're going to overheat the first time you drive it. So make sure you do it now. Let it idle, let it get up to temperature, perk all the air out, and get the system finished up the right way.